Hello, and I said we'd be back to color this thing, and true to my word, here we are. I'm just kind of eyeballing this one. I think we're going to just start with our skin color. Now, putting down the first layer of color, putting down what you call your flat color is really easy. All you need to do is find a hard airbrush. You don't want to go with a soft airbrush because the soft brushes are generally what people use for blending, and we're not trying to blend anything right now. We're just trying to get the very first layer of color put down, and we want it to be solid. I'm just making some different layers here. Just prepping for what I'm going to do. Of course, the colors should always go below the lines because otherwise you'd be coloring on top of your line work, and you don't want that. As you can see, I'm just coloring and having the layer underneath the color. Having the color under the line art layers is just going to allow you to color on top of everything. Now this next part, pay attention to because it will help you get all the little cracks and crannies. We're taking that background color off so that we can really see every little detail of where we put our color down. That's going to be important because if you're going to be using clipping masks to do your coloring and shading, and I love clipping masks. They keep you from coloring in places that you don't want to color. They help you isolate where you want to shade and where you want to lay down your shadows and your lights and your textures. But for them to work effectively, you have to make sure that you get every bit of flat color down where it's supposed to go, or that clipping mask is going to be missing spots. And it may not be very obvious before you shade, but believe me, it will be after you shade. And it will definitely be obvious if at some point you decide to turn this artwork into a print. So doing this kind of prep work beforehand is a good thing. And some people will sometimes change their background color to something like a blue or another color that would just pop up really well, but I just find it most useful to just turn the whole background layer off and just work with the color. I'm going to speed a little bit of this up because it can get redundant to just be sitting there watching me fill in every tiny little corner. I'm actually just going to paint completely over the eyes and everything. I just want to really make sure that I get the skin color down where the skin color is supposed to go. It doesn't really matter because I believe this is probably likely to be the lowest layer on my color layers, and I'm going to clean this up a little bit anyway. But I just really want that bottom layer of skin to all have its flesh tone. The eyes don't matter so much. I'm going to put a layer above them anyway. Let me get this off of her earring though. Don't want skin color there. Now the next thing we're going to do is the eyes, and I'm bringing in a reference pic from an older illustration that I did because I really liked the way I did the eyes on that one. And I think I already have a short showing you the eye coloring technique, but if this is the first time you're watching my videos, let's just go ahead and do it again because it's really fun and it's really easy. And I feel like it has given me some of the best looking eyes that I've had on these projects. And because this is the same character, I'm going to stay pretty close to that beautiful olive green. And again, we're just putting down a flat color. I want to get that first color down. I'm going over the line art a little bit because it actually makes it look sharper and darker, and we like that. So, same thing over here. We're just gonna go on over and fill this one in too, because I think we're gonna use some clipping masks after this. Yes, the thing that you've heard me talking about. Now I'm kind of jumping ahead because I usually lay down all my flat colors before I do any shading or adding any other textures, but I like to do the eyes first. It's just, I like having a character's eye done first. I don't have this like dead-eyed character staring at me the whole time I color. Just gonna put a layer above that color, flat color layer. And the layer above that we're gonna put as our clipping mask, as you'll see. So we wanna make that to be the pupil. Actually, I don't need the clipping mask just yet. That looks really vivid with all the white removed from the background, but that's okay. I'm just going to kind of start the pupil because she's kind of looking off to the side, so I want to have the pupils kind of supporting that. So they're going to be turned to the side. I'm trying to get them as even, as symmetrical as I can. I kind of just moved my drawing underneath there to the side so I could kind of compare. I needed to see what her gaze looked like and where she was looking off to. And I'm just going to copy the pupil on the other side and paste it the same way on this eye, because I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to these kind of things. I want things to be symmetrical. Though, cool story, I've heard that we're actually not all that symmetrical in real life. Our biology is not. But for the purpose of making my art, I want it to be really close. So we've got two pupils. I'm going to go ahead and combine that because I want them on the same layer. Now I'm going to make another layer. That's my clipping mask. And I know that I ran through that a little bit fast, so I'm probably going to put a review at the end of the video where I go a little bit slower. But yeah, that anytime you see that little arrow go down on top of the layer, it means you've clipped it to the layer below it. You can see it there. Now, a clipping mask, the way it works, it only shows up on the layer that it's clipped to, and if that layer has color on it. So if I make a clipping mask to go on top of this green color, then that means that the only place color can go is where it's put down that green. It won't go on the pupils because the pupils are on a separate layer altogether. And I have this one clipped to the green. And I've kind of got this light greenish yellow that I kind of want to make a ring around the pupils. We all have a little bit of reflective light in our eyes. It's how you know we're alive and we're not zombies, though technically this character is a vampire, but still. Once I have those ringed, I'm going to switch over to a softer airbrush because I kind of want it to blend. I don't want really hard lines, which is what a hard airbrush is going to give you. And I want this to look kind of feathery. I don't want this to, it still has a little bit too much of a defined ring for my taste. So I'm using very gentle pressure when I press down with the stylus. And we're just going to kind of smooth out those edges. And I decided that I don't really actually like that. Let me get rid of that. I'm going to do it again. Start over. But this time I want to start with the soft brush, which I think is what I should have done in the first place. Apologies, I'm a little bit out of practice on the digital side of art, but there's the beautiful thing about digital art is that if you make a mistake, it's usually not that big a deal. As long as you haven't flattened your layers, you can delete them and start over as many times as you need. And I'm just moving the soft brush around the pupil, and that's a lot better effect. So we're just moving the soft brush in a circular motion around the pupil. Yeah, don't use a hard brush to do your light. Just use the hard brush to do the flat color underneath. That is a lot better looking. I don't have to work as hard to smooth those defined edges out. I don't have to work as hard to blend. So I'm just backing off a little bit and looking at it in its entirety. I'm gonna take the original green color that I have below it, and I'm gonna kind of take some of the weight off of that. That's the other thing you can do. You can take the color below it and use the soft brush and also do a blend around the ring. And that will also help you to blend these colors a little bit better. And I'm putting some tiny little marks here, you can see. I'm pretty sure there is a biological scientific term for the little marks in the eye that I'm making here, and it completely escapes my notice. I just know that people have them, and I'm making a few to add some realism to this eye. So yeah, we just want to very lightly dot those in there. It's about right. And I'm going to go ahead and combine that. Now that I've got those two on the same layer, I'm going to leave my pupil layer as it is. By the way, don't combine that light down until you're sure that you actually like what you got. But now I'm just making a layer so that I can get some of these highlights onto the eye. I'm just going to make that layer for the light. We want it labeled. Don't have to label it, but it does make things easier. I think I want to add a little bit more to this ring around the eye because I lost some of the details in translation. It's nothing that I can't touch up though. So I'm just going to go on a layer that's below that highlight because I don't want to actually go over the lights that I added in the eye. But I do want some of that light around the iris there to just be a little bit, tad bit more refined. I might want to add a few more shadows too, just around the rings. Just very faint. It doesn't need to be overpowering, though. Just a little tip, if you're going to go really dark, you're going to want to put it in the corners. The shadows fall into the corners of most things. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to my lines, and I want to find the line that's just the ring of that eye, Because another thing you can do is you can absolutely put a clipping mask over your line art. So if I wanted to, hold on. Let's make sure that we actually clip it. So if I wanted to do something like that, I could do something like that. I am a big believer and a big fan of not having all of your lines be pure black. I think that's kind of pointless, but I also know that this being the outline of the eye, we want that to be a pretty, if we're going with green, we still want that to be a pretty dark green. In all likelihood. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with that. That's looking quite nice. Now, I do feel like I lost, again, a few things in translation. As I put things together, I want to kind of touch things up. And don't you just love the hell out of layers? That means that I can. So if I decide that I want to lighten the rings of these eyes again, go over them again, give them a little bit more pop, then I absolutely can, and that's what I'm going to do. Just going to kind of go over. There you go. That's looking a lot better now that it's all put together. And I'm just, again, going to kind of branch out here. Put these little branches of light coming out because, again, I think it gives you a more realistic looking eye. Look at that. Much better. Much better. If you kind of want a better way to visualize this, if you've ever seen like steampunk gears, just gears in a clock, think of the iris being the center and the outline of the iris being where the line and spokes come out. Or you can even think of it as being a little bit of a sun that's hidden behind your irises, but you keep that shape in mind. So I know I rushed through and went quickly through some things, so I'm going to slow down and I'm going to show you how to do the clipping mask. You need your main layer, you need another layer above it. What you're going to do is you're going to tap with your stylus on there, get the clipping mask. You see that little line, that little arrow show up, showing it is clipped to that layer. Now you can take any color that you want. I'm just going to take this red. And we've got that on our first layer there. Now let me click on the clipping mask layer. And see, you cannot go anywhere except where the color has been laid down. That's going to help me keep my shading where I want it for the next video. And yes, I said next video because this is getting a little bit long. I just wanted to go over coloring the eyes, but I am going to go slower over the techniques that I've used. And I mean, you can see and click anything, it's not going anywhere except where that color is. It can't go out of bounds from that layer that I've clipped it to. And it's not going to show up anywhere where color is not put down. So that's going to be, that is primarily what I use in a lot of my shading techniques. I won't always use a clipping mask, but I use them often. Depends on how I'm trying to blend and what I'm trying to do. Now the other thing I want to show you is how to get really sharp or really smooth line art, and I'm using the Gosinki ink pen that I usually use to draw with. You see how it's coming out very, it's a very smooth line. I really like drawing with it. Now if you're having some trouble with getting any line to look like that, I just happen to favor this one. You go into your stabilization and you just play with it until you get the smoothness and the steadiness that you want. What if I wanted this to look less sharp and I wanted to make it look more like a soft pencil line? I'd make a layer above it. Well, rather, I would duplicate the layer that I have. So I'd make 2 of these. I'd duplicate the line. Then I'm going to select Gaussian blur and watch me play with it. Floofy, it'll get fuzzier, less fuzzier. I usually don't set it very high. I usually set it to 1 or 2. And you get a softer line, and then you just combine them when you're done. And there's your line art. Stay tuned for the next video where we're going to play with some actual digital paint brushes, and I'll show you how to do that nice pomegranate there. But I felt like we didn't want to get too overwhelmed for this video. So this video is just covering the eyes and the basis of putting down your colors. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next art story. Bye for now.